Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships. Whatever's in your heart and whatever's on your mind, God is concerned about that which concerns you. So we are here with you and for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature, it is untouched by man? It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And right now, if you order 2 cases or more from FijiWater.com, you will receive a 25% discount on your order of 2 cases or more. It is not a subscription. 2 cases or more. The code is SPRING because spring has sprung at FijiWater.com. This is Earth's finest water. And for those of you who continue giving on the give segment of our app at New Life-Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites at NewLifeMinistriesInternational.com and NewLifeInternationalCDC.com, we thank you for your support and for your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So I want to say to all of our listeners and viewers, yesterday we had an issue with our technology on YouTube. We had an issue on all of our technology initially, but we did not have a YouTube broadcast for yesterday. But we are once again live, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, RadioFreeNetwork.com Live. Go to RadioFreeNetwork.com. Click on radio, the drop box will appear. Click on New Life, and every broadcast will be available to you. So we are live Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So there are going to be times when we are going to have technology issues. And as I explained yesterday, I had a hospital visitation that I had to do. And when I came back, I didn't have enough time during production to really look at all the dynamics of the technology to make sure that everything was functioning properly. And, you know, the team that does that, you know, once it's set, they believe that it's fine. Unfortunately, we sometimes have some technology issues. But I thank all of you who continue to stay tuned in, those of you that continue to watch yesterday on RadioFreeNetwork.com or on our app or on our websites, because we know you were tuned in. I could see you tuned in. And for those of you who just said, I'll get back to it tomorrow, we understand. But I noticed a lot of you just, you know, most of you actually just stay tuned in to see if we were going to be able to get things back up. These things will occur because we are live, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio. These things will occur. And I do want to remind everyone, we are our 24-hour, 24/7, 7 days a week, radio station, internet radio, WKAP Faith Empowerment Radio is live. We have gone live, and you can listen to music 24/7. You can listen to music that will encourage you, empower you, and inspire you to be the best version of yourself that you can possibly become. And we're going to be doing some additional expansions, but again, we want to make sure we got all of our technology sounds. So just stay with us, stay tuned in. You can go to rdo.to.wkap, pardon me, rdo.to/WKAP, or you can go to radiofreenetwork.com, click on radio, the drop box will appear, click on the WKAP link, and you can listen to our radio station, our internet radio station, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I want to thank all of the people in Africa and India who were on the radio station. I can see where people are tuning in from, and of course, we thank all of you who are in Europe listening to both the 3D Daily Divine Direction broadcast and our Faith Empowerment radio station. So I'm thankful to all that God continues to do, even when we have those moments of challenges with technology. So I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you want to buy your children a dog. You have 3 children. You have children who are adolescents to, you've got one who's about to become a teenager. The others are a couple years apart, each one of them, except for the oldest and the youngest, which, that's a dynamic that's common. But let me say this. The problem is that you want to buy a dog for your children. However, your husband refuses to buy one or to help you take care of it if you buy one for the children. You want to know what you can do to get him to change his mind. And my immediate answer to that is nothing. Let me tell you why. So first of all, let's make sure that we understand something. As parents, we should be on the same page. We should be on the same page. So you don't want to buy one if he doesn't want you to buy one. And I know some people are going to say, well, if she wants to spend her money buying a dog, she should be able to do that. But that's not true. See, this is what society teaches us. The truth of the matter is you've got to walk together in agreement. And the reason is because you're the helpmate and he's the head of the household, the head of the family. But that's not the problem here. When you walk in agreement together, that means that you're going to work it together. Even though he's the head of the family and you're the helpmate, you want to do this, but he would have to help you to take care of the dog. Because your children are only going to take care of the dog until the novelty wears off. Now let me explain to you how I know this to be a fact. Even if you have a child who is like our daughter. So when our daughter she wanted a dog. And my wife and I discussed it first. And I wasn't opposed to it like your husband is opposed to it. But what I said to her is, let's set some requirements of her first. And let's see if she fulfills those requirements. And then we can talk to her or we can tell her that she can get a dog, but she's going to have to do some research. So I'm giving you a practical application because I've lived this experience. So our requirement was that she had to make the honor roll 2 consecutive semesters. Can't make it the first semester, miss it the second, make it the third, miss it the fourth, and expect to get a dog in the summer. That's not going to happen. So she has to make it 2 consecutive semesters because we want that to be a pattern. We want you to work to that end. So she was in 7th grade, and we said to her, if you make the honor roll 2 consecutive marking periods and do the research to find a dog that would fit our family, we'll buy you a dog. So fast forward, she goes back to school, she makes the honor roll 2 marking periods consecutively. So we go to buy her a dog. We end up with 2 dogs because they didn't want to break them up. So they were from the same litter, the last 2 dogs, they were pugs. She did research for a year to determine what would fit well with our family. Having said that, here's the problem. Our daughter grows up. See, we don't think these things all the way through. She grows up from 7th grade. I guess she got the dogs the summer of her her 8th grade. I think it might have been 7th, but the reality is this. She grows up, she goes off to college, can't have dogs her freshman year because she's in the dorm. Then we move her into an apartment and she says, I can't take the dogs because my apartment doesn't take a dog. Then secondly, it was my academics or my social life won't allow me to take care of a dog effectively and efficiently. So we inherit the dogs. The dogs live to be 14, almost 15, and the other one lived to be 18. So the female went first, the male went second. We had them for 18 years. And as they begin, so all the vet cost and vet trips were done by us. Now, when she was younger, she got up every day through middle school, remainder of middle school and high school. She got up every day. She took care of her dogs. She took them out for a walk. She fed them. She came home. She took them out for a walk. She fed them. She did all of those things. Of course, we had to take her to take them to the vet because she wasn't old enough to drive. And even when she was old enough to drive, then she's involved in high school, extracurricular activities. She's a cheerleader. She's a color guard. She's, all of those things. And so the vet appointments then became our responsibility, even after she was old enough to drive. But then she goes off to college, and those dogs are no longer with us. But all that time that she was off at college, we took the dogs to visit her, but they were no longer her dogs. They became our dogs. They became an additional mouth to feed. Well, 2 of them. They became doctor's appointments, vet bills. All of those things became our long-term response. They were no longer pets. They were a line item. So your husband's thinking this through and saying, I know what this is going to look like 10 years from now, or even over the next 10 years. The novelty's going to wear off on your children, and they're not going to be responsible for walking the dog. They're not going to be responsible for feeding the dog. They're going to be, I've got homework, I've got extracurricular activities. You have 2 boys and a girl. You didn't tell me that in your communication, but God allowed me to see in that secret place of your life. They're not going to take care of the dogs or the dog. I know someone's saying, Pastor, you're having a flashback, but I'm telling you, all those additional costs you've really got to think it through and decide if that's going to be best for your family. Or is this just a novelty item that you're going to have around for a period of time? I think service dogs are great because they serve a purpose. Dogs they don't grow up and leave and go off to college. They're going to be with you until the day they die. They will offer you some companionship and they'll offer you some companionship. When you come home, if you don't feel like talking to the rest of the family or the family's empty nest, you'll have someone to talk to. But that's a decision you should make after the nest is empty. While the nest is still full, that's another mouth to feed that will never get a job. Now, I will tell you, we took our dogs to visit senior centers, so that was a good purpose for them. But this whole thing, I love dogs. I think they're wonderful. I don't have any problems with someone deciding when you're older that you want a dog, and the kids are out of the house, you decide you want to have a dog. That's fine, because you'll be taking the dog for vet visits and buying 40-pound bags of food and all of those things. And yes, I probably am having a flashback, but what I'm telling you is that it's a responsibility. And your husband's thinking those things all the way through, and he's saying, I'm not willing to take on that additional responsibility. So the short answer is there's nothing I can say that's going to help you convince him to buy the kids a dog. I really think dogs should be for people who are single, who do not have children, who are not planning on having any children anytime soon, and for elderly people who want someone for companionship. And when I say elderly, meaning my age group that's still old enough to get them to the vet without too much challenge, and still that's the only time I would recommend for anyone to buy a dog. I know people do it for teaching their children responsibility, but at the end of the day, when they're young, that might be fine, that might be cute, but at the end of the day, once they become active in middle school and high school, the chances of you getting them to do everything that needs to be done for the dog is not going to be conducive for your success. That's all I can add to this, because I've lived that experience, and I know that is not an experience that, and then having to put them down when they get old enough that they can't really function anymore and it's painful for them to function. Having to put them down, that's a traumatic experience, particularly for the wives and even the adult children sometimes. It's just not something that you really should consider doing until after the children are out of the house. Particularly since your children are not 5, and you get them at 5, by the time they're 15, in many cases the dogs are gone. The pugs were anticipated to live, I guess, 10 to 12 years. We had them for almost 15 and 18. The vets would say when we took them to the vet, I don't know what you're doing with these dogs, but their coats are beautiful. They're in great health. I don't know what you're doing, but they're going to live a long time. And they did. They lived to be almost 15 and 18. You got to take that into consideration. That is not a member of the family. That is a line item on your budget. This segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you are currently not a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will place you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill. At T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you are always a first date girl. However, guys never ask you out on a second date, and you want to know, how do you get men to explore a relationship with you? So let me say this. You've got to really change your language. You can't just say you're never a second date. You've been on a second date, but it didn't go any further than that. So that's why you're using that analogy, that you're a first date girl. And for many people, there are different reasons that they're only a one date person. And it could be personality issues. It could be the differences of personalities, conflict of personalities. There could be a number of reasons why many people at first date people. You're not a first date person for those reasons. There's nothing wrong with you. The men who do not ask you out on a second date are doing you a favor. If a man does not want to go out on a second date with you, he's doing you a favor. And the reason is because of this. You are a woman of standards. You are a woman who has been successful in your career. You are a woman who has begun to build a life. Well, not begun, you built a life for yourself. So you have standards. But because of your physical appearance, men constantly ask you out. The problem is they ask you out and they either determine that they're inadequate to date you, or they realize that your standards are going to hold them to a higher standard. You've got to recognize that all of those men who have come through your life, and there have been many who have asked you out, when they run, they've done you a favor. Because what you don't want to do is become connected to someone who is not going to add value to your life. It's not going to add to the quality of your life. And I'm not saying that they have to be equal with you in their career. I'm not saying that they have to have the same success that you've had. What I am saying is that all of that should be a consideration. And what I mean by that is they too should have standards and goals. But what you're going to need to do is stop going on first dates with people, on dating the way society has taught us to date. So I went through this scenario about the practice of dating and how we should be dating, over the last weeks, and also previously. All of those men have done you a favor. You don't want to go out with someone who doesn't meet your standards. And what I mean by that is they've got goals, they've got aspirations, they're working to accomplish those goals, they're taking the necessary steps to be successful, they are building a quality of life even if they haven't achieved the same quality of life that you've achieved. But you won't know that if you don't know what their plans are for the future. So you're asking a lot of the right questions, and they're running because they don't have answers. You've got to change up the way you date, but you don't have to change your dating practices. Meaning, or let me say, dating standards. Meaning, you should, like I've said so many times before, if someone wants to date you, they should take you to church and out to lunch 3 times, 3 weeks consecutively. Because you know what that establishes? First of all, establishes consistency. Second of all, during the weeks after they take you to church and out to lunch on Sunday, they should be calling you Monday through Saturday, checking in to see how your day is progressing, checking in to see how your week is progressing, allowing you to share with them what's going on through your week so that they get to know you in that way. The eye-to-eye test, church, lunch, you know what they're being fed spiritually if you go to church with them. If they don't have a home church, you invite them to your church, you still know what they're being fed spiritually. And then you know what they're being fed physically, because you are going out to lunch with them, you see their eating habits, and you know that they're willing to be consistent, to form a standard of consistency. So we've got to look at all of those points. So every one of those men has done you a favor by leaving you alone. You don't want them to explore a relationship with you. If they're not man enough, and this is going to take me into the next communication, if they're not man enough to have standards that are going to allow them to continue dating you the right way, then you don't need them. And I'm going to encourage you. There's nothing wrong with your personality. We all have issues. You're a neat person. Some people call that a neat freak. But that's okay. We all have our issues. We all have our issues. I had a breakfast meeting this morning, and my wife said to me, I know you already know what you're having for breakfast today. What do you want for dinner? But what are you going to do for dinner? But she said, I already know you know what you're having for breakfast today because you knew you had a meeting scheduled this morning. So you already know what you're going to be eating because you've already charted that out. We all have issues, yeah. And I said, yes, I do. So she asked me, what are you having? Because, I tell everyone I married the food police. She wants to know. And part of that is she wants to make sure I stay healthy so she doesn't have to push me around in the wheelchair. She wants me to stay healthy so she doesn't have to take care of me because I'm on medication. She's trying to keep me from going that route. I'm on no medication and I'm in good health. I have an annual physical every year. I encourage everyone else to do the same thing. But I'm saying that to say every one of us has issues. There is nothing wrong with your issues. We all have them. There's nothing wrong with you wanting a clean house. There's nothing wrong with you wanting a clean environment. That's just who you are, and that's okay. It's the things that we do wrong that are issues that's a problem. So there's nothing wrong with your personality. Don't allow anyone to make you think that just because that you're a first date girl because there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. And God is not allowing anyone else to be in your life except the person that he's appointed for your life, because you understand the importance of making certain that you continue with a great quality of life. So all those men have done you a favor, and to God be the glory. This segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at their retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need: shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. If you're not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. They will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. And The White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. So they have everything you could possibly need. Stop in at the retail store if you're in New York. They have home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in New York, you can order from The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I know I said it, that last communication was going to take me into another communication, and it does, because you want to know what is it with men wanting to split the check on dates, and if you're traveling somewhere, they want you to pay your own way, your own cost. You want to know what's going on with men that do not want to pay for meals, drinks, or travel any longer. And here's what you said. You said the game has changed, and it's no longer fun for you to be single, and that's the problem. This is not a game, nor is it about fun. You have to be dating for a purpose. Now, I will say this. Any man who wants you to split the check with him when he takes you out on a date, that is the last person you should be going out with. If a man doesn't want to pay for the meal when he's asking you, now remember, I already went through the dating scenario, church and out to lunch. Now, men, I'm saving you some money because you don't have to take them out to a fine dining restaurant to wine and dine them. Take them to church, take them to lunch. If they don't want to do that, you don't need them. For women, if he takes you to lunch and he wants you to split the check, you shouldn't date him again. You shouldn't. He's told you all that you need to know. He's not going to be a provider. He's going to want to do things the way the world teaches you to do them. You shouldn't want someone who wants to split the check. But at the same time, you shouldn't be worried about meals and drinks and travel if you have not determined that this is someone you want to build a life with. That's when you get to those places. That's when you get to that point. You need to know that this is the person that God has assigned for your life. And if you don't know that, you don't know enough to be involved in a relationship with that person. This is not a game. This is not about fun. This is about your life. And it's not just about a single life. It's about a life being built together by two people that God has joined together, that no man